Alright, that is the some those JD Gabliang, Dojan Church, Chinji, Goradi, Chasalia, and the Gorbia Shuri, and Chasalia, Tish.
Good morning. I want to welcome everyone to the Jaja Warung country on which this retreat is being held, and I pay my respects to their elders past, present and emerging, as well as to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders people. And also I welcome you individually to joining us for this retreat here and over the next few days.
저기 직 베비게 지다 제바네 베더 두베 차바시 한들이 상여주는 데기 율와라나살리아 취기 홀로 고르비기 안에 뒤진 차바진이 자도요래 안데네기 취기 홀로 고르비기 뒤진 차바진 자도요래 제와라나살리아 상여주는 데기 초고 그 디르와 두베 체시세야디 제가 이제 뒤 개발전지리아 아니 결혼주기 델리아 직 3년 줍제제 아니 직 개화사에 난 아주 지들이 네 아주 최신 제 고합된 수라데 베마시비 가와성 보치다 아니 수는 개침 보사야 차고래.
According to the Tibetan calendar, today is the anniversary of when Buddha first gave a Dharma teaching, when he first turned the wheel of Dharma in Varanasi in India. So this is one of the primary festival days in the Buddha's calendar. And on days like this, generally Buddhists gather and accumulate merit. And this is something that you are all doing here right now today with engaging in this retreat and the varying activities associated with it.
베비게 베바다 아니 베베치서 히말라야 리규단 베나라인 직 데니게다 히말라야 리규단 베나 사제가와 유에리베나 디링다 데니게 지그 두버치시 뒤신레스는 자상 개와 두야다 데니게 베즈치고레 데네자다 직 뒤질이야 개처지겐 베마세 개침부 슈슈바 상안주에 냠도 개주체 두여되다 냠도스는 사야지레 안디나시 덴바상 예춤nen디게 데링 데니게 추유와라 나스 추유콜로고 데니게 추유콜로고이게 단 데니게 상에 숨기비 추에텔랭아서 데링 안도시앙아서 롭종제 아즈라 제기 퇴섬제야디 고합라와디 베마시다 덴바상 예춤nen디게 게진다 제수 대바다 게진 지수 템베토네 당아도 냠nen지야 고합자와디 베야 호로와.
Those who are followers of the Buddhism of Tibet, whether they are in Tibet, in the Himalayan regions, or the Tibetan or Himalayan region people who find themselves dispersed throughout the world, as well as foreigners who now also follow the Buddhism of Tibet, generally today will be gathering all over to engage in acts of accumulation of virtue. And we are now also part of this dependent arising today, where we are also engaged in acts of accumulation of virtue. And amongst these, the varying acts of accumulation of virtue, we also here have the opportunity to engage in hearing teachings of the Dharma. And being the anniversary of when Buddha Shakyamuni taught the Dharma for the first time in our world, it's truly auspicious to, on a day such as today, to be hearing teachings as well as reflecting, meditating on them.
덴바상게 줌nen티게 송비게 최게 랍제 닝보 단 제르마체게 노시네마 안데 다주게 때라 닝보 렘비 구외 측소 잡아세다 측뒤리셰 안에 아주게 단주게 딘데리아 냠nen제 림바디 돈다 창와지다 측뒤리셰리아 도시네네 송기인세 송야게 최디 차고레 데비텔라 닝보 렘버 구외 측소 잡아오세다 송야게 최디나.
And in our time together this weekend, we're looking at a concise presentation of Buddha Shakyamuni's teachings created by Lama Tsongkhapa, where he's brought together just a dozen or so verses in which he encourages us to make the very best of this life, And hence the title of our text, verses urging to take the essence of this human life.
Denegi da semjen dunro da chasang ena ne ludin ri yorde da nga ju gi mi ludin da ju gi ludin sa de da di den la di yagu re se yaksho chi re se den na da korwi gi ludin na da yaksho re yaksho yin bi gimjan ga re lam na den de le ya ana nga ju gi samno ta ta nam ju gi be je ta ta de shu chi yagu yo re se je jisna dene za de la den ne nga ju den de le ya ana so so gi di gi ju ya dunga se ya and Sedigi Digi Jubiare, Dungaseare, Dimimbe Kewa Chimalia, and Digi Jubia, Dungasea, and Dina and the Tarbada Tamji Kimoko, Toyagi, Tablam Yamlenji, Chasa, Dinga Ludin Delechi to Ores, Chesa Diniza, and Delea, Anjugi, Sosoegi, Chige, Nuba, Bezu Shushiba Jevena, Dene, and Jisan Yokoban said, Yobo top Tuyagi, Tarbada San Yokoban, Sedelia, Tarbada San Yokoban, top Tuyagi, and then Yamlenchi, Tuyagi, Din Kabach and the Chado, Dinizada, DND, Zachimo Shures, Jisan Denigi Din Delia, Tanzu Yamlenchi, go up the Bezuchin, Yamlenchi, Guri, said, Ma, Dushin Jirim Chikim, and the Gumachi or Regere, the Gumachi gets seated on that soon.
Our text, these verses urging to take the essence of this human life. This has been composed because Lama Tsongkhapa is encouraging us to look at what we have achieved. Because we are all human beings, we tend to take this human existence for granted. And this is an error. We should recognize the true value that the opportunity of such a rebirth that we have attained presents ourselves with. So the Tibetan literally is a physical basis. So this physical basis that we have achieved is ideal for spiritual development. And the reason why this physical basis is ideal for spiritual development is because it's qualified by 18 freedoms and opportunities. This is what makes this human rebirth so precious. Because with these 18 qualities, included in them is our remarkable human intelligence. And through our human intelligence, we can gather knowledge, think about the meaning of that knowledge, and thereby radically transform our way of thinking. And this radical transformation of our way of thinking is a different way to express accumulating virtue, purifying non-virtue. And with this basis of this precious human rebirth, we have the capacity to rapidly spiritually develop and transform our continuum, our spiritual progression. So Lama Tsongkhapa here in this text is encouraging us to look with look at the reality of the situation that we've achieved and to use it well.
Namokuru Manzuko Haya Situeda, Lamada, and it Jishin Jembe Yango Yermeba Sech, no sooner. Dene, Titele Trokunye, Dedan Lebi Ba, Gashi Japso Sunwe, Zulzema, Dungajan, Jobi Kurkervi, Jizunjoma de la Gusha Saras.
So the text starts with a homage to my lamas and Manjugosha. So here, Lama Tsongkhapa is seeing his lamas and Manjushri as being indivisible in nature. And then the first verse continues, I respectfully prostrate to Venerable Tara, who has taken responsibility to help all who are suffering, bestowing protection to whomever entrusts themselves, and for the merit and happiness of migrators.
Zada jizun dramalia cha tsawares cha tsu yudi da cha tsu yudi chizu drama che delia cha sagin de jerim che ne jerim chigi cha kan tsawarela na jizun drami ki gosong tu sum ge yenden da denegi an jige debi tone an du chen cha sa wa.
here we see Lama Tsongkhapa offering prostration or homage to Tada's qualities of body, speech, and mind, and praising those qualities.
안데야 내가게 되와 타르도게 되와 세종으로와 다른 내가게 되와 안체디게 되와다 개와 치면 되와 타도 안에 타르바다 탐지 김보고 보도베 되와 세데 로군이 되와 세데 디날레 되와 세데 되와들이야 안치기 야채 모여 봐지로 와지 제가 로군이 내가게 심지어 탐지기 류게 되와다 셈게 되와 안에 내가게 되와 안체디 되와 세치면 되와 띵이 되와 되네게 되와데 아줄이야 지금 고고레스 지사디 대화디 고와디나 조군이 대화당스 되네 대화디야 안에 유단기 매발라티네 용고 말 제산 유단기 야고 주제 레베 바스는 유 야오 디디 용야기 유 안에 레바 폰손 소파식 누고고래 제리다 되네 주바이나 아줄 좋아 디기래 디기 주 투고래서 용고래서 너나 담보디 디송고래.
The first verse in this line is for us the bottom line, the fourth line. In the translation, we will work from the bottom line to the top. So it starts with, and for the merit and happiness of all migrators. So this is Venerable Tara's objective, to help beings, to guide beings to attain happiness. Happiness of all kinds, both temporary and ultimate happiness. Happiness of both the body and the mind. So this is her objective. And all such forms of happiness, whether it's temporary happiness, which refers to the happiness that is experienced in this life, as well as in our future life, our next rebirth, as well as then ultimate happiness, the happiness that is lasting and stable and never punctuated by even the slightest of problem or difficulty. All these forms of happiness come about independent on causes and conditions. So therefore, her aspiration is to help beings to accumulate excellent causes that will lead to both temporary and ultimate happiness.
최유고 랍제데 망제다 디기주야다 동아세게 삼로 당당가 돈에 삼로 조 삼로 돈에 삼로 주와 따야돼 델파 안에 지금 저기 랍제야돼 베주셔야돼 장고 장들셔야돼 디라 송고를 와다 지난 디기조 그래서 내가 저기 강가 영화도 조데 셈기 돈에 마릭베 돈에 연구요 봐자 지난 셈디 용서 자와데 셈디자 디 야고 중요하라 야고 수여샤바네 동아용한테 매라와 유세고 말든 동아용 매라와 저도 디네자 자와 셈을 봐 소교다 디 야고서야 돼 디송고로와.
And how do we come to attain happiness? What is the method, the technique? Well, the focus in Buddhism is on transforming one's mind, because our mind has incredible power. If for those who have transformed their mind, whatever situations they encounter, they will not suffer because of the transformed mind. Those of us who are yet to transform our mind radically, wide variety of circumstances will cause us problems and torment. But if we follow the teachings of the Buddha, applying them to our mind will be transformed and nothing will harm us. So the meaning of Buddhist practice is transforming one's mind. This is the focus for how to attain lasting happiness.
내가 세대다 개와 침마 탈바다 탐지 띵이 대와 토야디 유 푸순 소바야 우사바 사고레 승고레 다디 유디사에 간에 사고레 람나 안당보 간에 삼당고레스네 삼당다딜 삼다 사고레스 디 삼당 간에 상어서 강시 접수 송외 세든 절제마 세든 접수 송외에 강시 세든 아주기 데니기 대와 디기 두게게 대바요한 돈야기 dum바요한 디기 아니야 겹 건조 솜다 안지준 저말이야 겹수 조고래 해서 겹수 조세래 지나다 동아디게 파 디기 주고도 써야 돼 동아디 써야 디기도 주고도 지나다 디기 주반자 디기디 누에게 탑럼의 수 띵기래라나 되는마 만서 로치겐 탑럼 띵긴디 근데 지준 저말 상예다 데네게 아니 지준 저말아서 숭구리스 지나 데네게야 건주기 탑람데 땡그레 선베게다 데네 템발라 데네 아주게 디기줍 투그레 동아세 투그레스베 데네게 이셰바지기 이시템 보시고 그래서 데네게 잡수송세 데네게 유 지순조마다 상예다 지순조마라서 봐 데려야 잡수송고 그래서지.
The second line in the Tibetan in this verse is bestowing protection to whomever entrust themselves. So here, we've already seen that the objective of Tada is to guide beings to accumulate causes that will lead to happiness, both temporary and lasting happiness. Now, ourselves as suffering beings who have come to recognize that Tada and the other Buddhas, they have this determination to help us in terms of our spiritual development, in terms of our mental transformation. We turn to them for guidance in how to cultivate these causes within us. So here in the translation, the term protection is used, bestowing protection to whomever entrusts themselves. And the meaning here is that we turn to Tada and the other Buddhas for refuge. Was turning for going for refuge to the Buddhas and especially here in the form of Tada. We are going for refuge, for protection from suffering, knowing or understanding that the way we attain protection from suffering is under their guidance. We accumulate the causes of happiness. We transform our very mind, transform our way of thinking, and it's through acting under their care, under their guidance, that we transform our mind, and the transformed mind is protected from suffering. So this is how we ourselves attain protection from suffering. And to attain the state, we turn for refuge to Tada and all the Buddhas. And we do so with certainty that their method in guiding us can lead us to attain a state of lasting happiness.
On the name that Jugi Samlunalia, Denegi, Anchike, Dunga, that Tiki Trupudu, Dungadi, that Sego, Tiki Trupudu, Sembe, Tiki Truelia, Tiki Truege, Tablam de Shingu, or Denege Tablam Shinedi, Dungan, the Sutung, the Sugi, Dungere, Sembe Ichi, Denege Samlogi, Nambong, Tiki Trupudu, Sembe, Duni, Dumbashiki. Denegi Dunga Sego, Sembe, that Tiki Trupudu, Sembe, Duni, Dumbadiki, that Diki or that Diki Truta, they can suit Labgirelana, and Diki Labgir Sembe, that is to make Labgiri on the George and Nangre Sembe Yisheroji, Yishi Temboche, Dushin and Jeodu, and then Chegores, Capsule, some Tangores, Chesna Deneginza, Sonwe, Capsule, Zolsema, Sedu, Chesnadi, Capsule, George Chile, that was in it. Now was a good Javas, she is in that Zoasirwa. She said, Mazuna, the Javas, Chegurwada, Chesna, George Chile, Jehen, that Denegim. Chicken, Bimig number, number 20, good number 20, Zema, Chison Drama, so down also Chison Drama, Delia, to send a Japsumana, Japsungo, as she was some order.
The process of thinking that the practitioner needs to go through is first to recognize their wish for happiness. For, in particular, for a happiness that is completely freed from suffering. Because every problem or difficulty we encounter, we reject. We do not want to experience these, not even slight ones. What we all long for is to abide in lasting happiness. When we recognize this, we'll think to ourselves, how can we attain it? I don't know how to attain lasting happiness. I've yet to experience it. Who does know? Who can guide me? Who can help me? And this then is where, through having heard many teachings and reflected on them, we turn our mind to the Buddhas, to Venerable Tara, knowing that these are perfected beings. They have attained a state of lasting happiness. So to the extent that we have confidence in the attainment of Buddhas, to that degree of certainty, we turn to them for guidance in how we can transform our own minds, how we can develop virtue, purify non-virtue, which is the process of transforming our mind. And we turn to them with confidence that knowing with their wisdom they can guide us perfectly, and with their compassion they will bestow protection on us. In other words, they will guide us in how to develop our mind. They'll want to, from their side, help us in every way that we are receptive to. So this then is the meaning of bestowing protection to whomever entrusts themselves, and how we come to this point of sincerely and with conviction, with confidence, going for refuge.
semjete dunga selya anji kidina gen keje anji kur keje kur kewasen gen kyawa dine da nge dunga semje dunga de nge masen de kan se ore konsul digi de nge maru de digi ma nge dubore sembe be gen hur ma son da shoji chasanan go re jere na ne ba dunga janam gebi kur kerbe anji zun drama dine gi je digi da gen chasan kewa ina then Rojigrua, Rotin and Grua, just like Dineza, Jason Dramadelia, and Guchasa said on this one.
And here we can turn with confidence, knowing that we will not be ignored, we will not be neglected, but rather we will be embraced by Tara, because as the next line says, who has taken responsibility to help all who are suffering. So this is the promise that the Buddhas all had long made. This was an indispensable promise that a being needs to make with sincerity and strive to fulfill in order to become a Buddha. So therefore we can have confidence that to the extent of the sincerity with which we turn to Tara, Tara will accept us, take us under her care, because she has taken the responsibility for guiding each and every sentient being, which therefore of course includes ourselves, guiding each and every sentient being in their spiritual development, in their transformation of their way of thinking.
Sangye chasan nuban jigbare yunden nyambare yunden jigbare mato yunden sangye kashi yunden chewa na sangye kashi yunden chunwa gaya ma chasan gyun chasan bangsawa yunden tamje topsawa yunden nyamba nuban nyamba zewa chasanlia semjallia nunga 자되게 디기 주되게 zewa yoba jigbi jigyar mato kyaba gaya ma semje sangye tamjellia.
A point to make is we can see this verse is being addressed to Venerable Tara. We shouldn't think, though, that some Buddhas have greater qualities than others. Some perhaps have more compassion, some more wisdom, some more love. This is not the case. A Buddha, a being becomes a Buddha because all faults have been completely eradicated and all good qualities perfectly developed. So if qualities are perfectly developed, they'll be perfectly developed by each and every Buddha. And likewise, with each fault being completely eradicated, that will be the same for each Buddha. So therefore, we shouldn't ever misunderstand thinking that some Buddhas have greater qualities than others.
number 2 제 ngāzulya ane ngāzu duje zulya number 2 na delya denegi ane jige mira shungorwa bene jizun drama sedi chinligi la so chinligi la res chinligi jizun jembe ya sedi sherabge la ane jige jenresi sedi ane jige ningche la dene ngāzu ge chana doje la na nube ge tudo nuba la so denegi number 2 jiza dene za 주게 넘기 주게 셰럽 기고래 셰럽 직 주비하게 되네 걸려 이제 제메야를 소화답이다. 아니 지게 닝지에게 냠내 숙체 못지 야게 따야야. 아니 봐봐 제네스를 소화답이야. 아니 아직 주게 지게 아직 튕긴세야다 튕긴 주야다 되네기 토려야 아니 지금 저말이야 소화답이야. 직 람로 교야다 되네기 대중 주게 미기 두제기 낭월다 튜브 토네 안도 두시네 넘버 2신 두시는 가지고 상이 가서 넘버 2샤바래 이내 당가지고 지진 젬베야 지불이야 소화들이 니지 주나 주투고래 셰라 주나 주투 틴레 주나 주투고래 다 이내다 지진 저말에 지 소화 답지 가르치네 안지 니지 주야래 튕견 주야래 안 되네기 셰라 주네 용고래 이내다 두지 감당 매발의 dwin제 두시 나에도 맞아 할때단 될이야 안지做제세 두시네 소수 주바이나 근데제 안가지글라 냠링게 똑바디 뉴와 용야기 개발하지 용거를 인사와 되네자 아니 니가지게 지진 셰럽기 주야리야 지진 제메야라 소하다야다 되네기 니지 주야라 젠데슬 소하다야 아니 지게 틴레 주야리야 안지게 두와 튕긴 주야제 소수게 지게 최다 튕비게 자와스 양보제 자와래 안 자와데 람로 야보야리야 안지진 정말 소하다야 두시네 나주 두시네 지게 루셀 마선에 잘해서 된다 시고로와
So that being said, that there is no difference between the Buddhas in terms of their qualities. The Buddhas do appear in different aspects. They do show themselves in differing ways in order to help beings in accordance with their own individual disposition and inclination. Hence, we see the Buddhas showing themselves in the aspect of Tada and Manjushri and Chenrezig and so forth. And whilst between all these different deities, there is no difference in terms of their qualities. They show themselves with a particular emphasis, so that when beings are engaging in certain practices, or to express it differently, when beings are striving to develop their mind in particular ways, they would rely on a different aspect of the Buddhas. So the Buddhas would show themselves in a particular way to aid one's spiritual development in a particular area. So, for example, if one is striving to develop one's compassion, then one will turn to Chenrezig, because Chenrezig is the aspect of the Buddha's compassion. And if one is striving to develop one's wisdom, one will turn towards Manjushri, or if one's striving to develop one's power and strength, one will turn towards Vajrapani. Because these are varying aspects of the Buddhas that they appear in order to directly engage with beings when those beings, such as ourselves, are trying to develop particular qualities. And so too then with Tada. So with Tada, who is the aspect of the Buddha's enlightened activities, one turns to Tara to develop our skill in transforming all our activities, our various activities, into the path. So for aid and guidance, and in particular in our development in our skillful means, we turn towards Tada. So this being the case, though, it's not that one aspect of the Buddha, such as Chenrezig, who's the aspect of compassion, has any less wisdom than Manjushri, who is the wisdom aspect of the Buddhas. And Manjushri similarly does not have any less compassion than Chenrezig. They are all equal in this way, but they appear in various guises so as to help beings develop varying qualities within their own minds. And again, because Tara is being addressed here, Tara is the deity of enlightened activities, and therefore one turns to her, or turns to that aspect of the Buddhas, to develop skill in transforming our activities into the path.
Then, Ganda Dungan Jaso Cherlungwa, Dedan Deda, Ngay Chaloshi, Lapchin Damja Chisu Tubzipe, Zeden Mai, Madi Shepki Chugi Nis.
Then coming to the next verse, whomever has fallen into the great ocean of suffering, I shall liberate each and every one of them. You subsequently put this tremendously powerful promise into practice with veneration and immense respect. I place the crown of my head at your lotus-born feet, loving, compassionate mother.
Ganda Dunga Jaso Cherlungwa, Sidanga, Jitini Kamdelia, Dunga. Gasunashin, Gasudbe, Chemburwa, Chulmason, Shush Mangurwa, Chemburwa, and Dinashin, Dunga Delia, Ricta, Maramagures, or Danganzu, Midile, Nazuke, Jitin, Kam the Mida, Semjan, Dunga Riglia, Gabriel Lugi, Dunga, Semju Dunga, and Lulea, and the Nane Nazata, Mara, and the Anjik, Gabriel Nana, the Unigo, Capsula Unigo Mab, the Nigi, and Chikashile, Zoya Unimetic, the Nigi, Anzulia. Kowa Netik Semjati Dunga do Shungures, Chesan Jasonashiries, and Della Chelhua said the Jasonalma Huvana, Duele Kalehovua, Chesan Chembo Chemboza, Chesan the Niki Dunga Nalia, the Dunga Lua said, Dunga Nyodi or as a cohort, that Dunga Jaso Chelhua, Lung said, Dunga Nyungu or as a cohort, Chesada, the Niki Anzuke, Koigi, Semjen Chesale, Dunga, Mara, Naso. Mebaji, Dushin, Dia Guma Shepherd Dushin, Yungur was, said Donadishi or Tamboy.
Whomever has fallen into the great ocean of suffering. So this is an analogy one will come across quite often. So this great ocean, this has two representations, two meanings. So the ocean we can understand as being, of course, immensely vast. So this vastness refers to the vastness of beings, each and every being throughout samsara. So this is represented by this greatness of the ocean, the vastness of the ocean. Similarly, the expression of suffering, or the varied experiences of sufferings that beings experience across the various life forms, and sufferings both on the physical level and the mental level. This vast variety of sufferings is also represented by this great ocean. And then this expression having fallen into the great ocean of suffering. So one can imagine one falling into an ocean and struggling to get out, struggling to pull oneself out to dry land. So the great difficulty of being removed from this great ocean. So this is the meaning behind this common expression.
Dunga Jaso said, Dunga Horn Gugor, the Jaso said, Namu Jaso Chutil Gugomar, that did Dunga Jaso said, Dunga Jachambo said Gugor. Lunga said, Dunga Nyoa said Gugor, Dunga Jaso, Cher Lunga, Dunga. The vastness of the ocean represents the vastness of the varying forms of suffering that beings can experience, in that not every being is experiencing every type of suffering at this moment or in this particular life. But, and then fallen into, refers to that these can be experienced, because some sufferings are more associated with one life form than another. So again, the vastness of the ocean refers to the wide variety of types of suffering, and then having fallen into refers to that there are amongst those, there are those that are being experienced now, there are those that will be experienced in this life, or will potentially be experienced in this life, and then there's many that will still potentially be experienced or have been experienced. 데니기 제 동안요되게 semjendige 대다 네 잘로시 랍친 담자 시대다 디직두스네 랍친 담자 받으셔야나 지선 제준 드라마기 데니기 동안요되게 semjen 담제 고유 동아들에 네 자와 지기승에 자제야 타바 탐직을 끄기 세네 랍친 담자 켈린 데니기 야첨부 휴지 제요래서 랍친 지준 드라마기 데니 켈린 나요래서 그러다 제사 데니기 동화 자소 빼나 가시만 동화 되게 녀 좋아해 매바 녀 되셔 sem전에서 단인제 다 되게 sem전데 이게 차상 네 동화들의 자제 야 타바 탐지게로 끄기 세네 두세네 랍친 담자 빼 마스비게 야체면 뉴버첨부 유세 켈린 나요래서 랍친 담자 해야 돼.
In our third line, you subsequently put this tremendously powerful promise into practice. So here this expression, tremendously powerful promise. Literally, the tremendously powerful would be a great wave. So a great wave then relates to the vastness of the ocean. But here it's in relation to the promise that has been made by Tada. So it's translated as tremendously powerful because of the great strength of the great compassion that motivated the promise that she made.
두시네 랍친 semjen 동안나데 미 자와 니 탈바 탐지 기동아 제제 탈바 탐지를 끄기 센데 담자 제바레 담자 제네 제수 룹 제베 제덴마 시데 제수 룹을 제베 제제 데네 담자 제네 아니 제수 가르치고 룹을 제바스네 다 동안 람텐제 semjen 되게 고유 동안에 탈바다 탐지키면야 두시는 거시네 차례 난고레스 데네 나위게 제준 제덴마세도 제준 드라마하세 오래 제준 드라마디도 난고레스 오래나.
This great promise that we see in the previous line is to liberate each and every sentient being from these suffering realms, these suffering experiences. And this, as we see in the third line, is something that she is putting into practice and doing so through illuminating the path, through guiding beings in how to transform their minds, paths being mental paths, how to cultivate these mental paths of virtue.
제수 주비게 제대마세데 되네 제위 원게 도제라 semjen라 안 잠바단 제위기 디 원기 안도시네 semjen게 무동하데 자와지고레서 제순 주반 제바스네 자와지고레다 대제단들에 림바 망고용으로와 베네 지걸 고위 동화 가서래 나송의 동화래 탈비게 탑람 땡제 개와치말 하다미 되기로 거야. 데네게 양지 하다미 류딩 요딩에 되게 대소야 안 탈비람 땡지나 탈비고 보는 거야. 람냠네 림바 제조 안 데네 양지 원부 되스 야가 유현데 대소래 캬바침비게 람냠네 림바 땡제 캬바침비 람라 거제 야 상예살로 거야. 데네게 다 지준 죄메기 현기 동화세야다 디기 주베게 탑람 semjen kamda mebade tumbi na so zhe wong dianjine semjen dushine nehab cedele digi juya gewa chima lada mi go wa toyagi digi juya yusa nyamne dia dene anji tar kowe dungale draje ya tarba toyagi lamlo goya dene semje 탐지고 산주 고방 토비 치르도 안 타바침베 람라 고에제 야 산지 살로 고고 고바지가 두신 능고레제 줍제베게 제데마 제나 제요 온고도 능고레제 donde es un gore. 줍제베게 제데마 제데 디바.
So reading the third and fifth lines, parts of the third and fifth line together, there's putting this powerful promise into practice, loving, compassionate mother. What through her great love and her great compassion, what she is putting into practice is illuminating the path. In other words, guiding beings in varying ways. The path being mental paths of virtue that are cultivated under her guidance. So she's guiding beings who are she's guiding, firstly, beings who are in danger of falling into the suffering lower realms, guiding them to turn away from causes that would otherwise lead to such a rebirth, guiding beings to accumulate causes that will lead to a rebirth as a human or as a god. So this is the first way that she's putting her powerful promise into practice under the control, the influence of her love and compassion. The second is that those who have already attained a rebirth as a human or god, guiding them towards to accumulate the causes that will lead to the attainment of liberation from the sufferings of samsara in its entirety. That's the second way of guiding those who have the capacity and who have the rebirth as a human or a god to attain liberation. And then thirdly, that those who are along the paths of the Theravada, to guiding them towards the paths of the Mahayana, guiding them to the attainment of Buddhahood. So these are three different ways, or three different categories of beings that she is illuminating the path to, that she's guiding them in how to cultivate paths of virtue in their continuums.
Di shep ki an chuki ni sede. Chisa da dini ki chisun drama di shudang ro shite kada shud yosene. Di shep ki chuki ni sede. Chisa dini ki chisun sede ma chisun drama di shep di medo pe me kaan le ya zu chen du shudi bachi chisun drama digi chigi di eso da chisun drama medo pe me kaan le ya an shep di bu chen zu che. Dini ki shubi ki an zewa da semchen da zewa da tenbi ki chisun drama Digi and Semjen Dunga say Tablam Nasobe Tone, Semja Dunga say Diki Lokoba Zigores, the Nigi Chebeke Zigore, Dijaba de Garasan, the Nigis, the Killing Damja Zigores. Chuki said the Medobema Lagore. Jason Shap, Chuki said the Shap, the Jason Dreamy Shap, the Medo Beme Gala Zuji, the Sugar Ezore. They put it that they can get up other. We do metal baby got a shop do sushi and sugars. The name should again, same jet Tamjel, Zewa the Dembigi, Chizun Drama Digi, and the same Jingu Dunga, Sayat and Digi to be a tablam to Chigores, DJ Dinyaman to Chigis or Coron Killing Lapchimbo Chabade, such don't know this more.
At your lotus-born feet. So what this refers to is that Jetun Tara, she is enacting the welfare of suffering sentient beings. She's guiding them to attain good rebirths, to attain liberation, or to attain enlightenment. And she's doing so whilst seated on a lotus, as we can see in the statues behind us. So with her feet crossed and seated on a lotus, she is guiding sentient beings to attain good rebirth, liberation, or enlightenment, and doing so motivated by her great love and compassion.
Nanda digi karasungore sene da semjen da jige semjen digi pe dunga pado meba jige dunga zoe me tigen ane jig jachenbo dunga rikta mada denegi nyon tigen semjen dige semjen ditu nyongores ko ba digelya. Nigi semjen dige ane jizun drama medo pema ganglia shapzu ne shudigin jizun drama digi ande nigi semjen tamje dunga dige jawa de ngi jigi sene kelen lapchimbo jabares dene kelen jene dene semjen dige ane jig dunga digi ru negap de digi ruya ane gyawa chimal hada mi ko ba to digi ruya tardu an tarbe ko ba ruya ane sanje ko ba le ge digi ru lam denje an dunga se ju du chen ane phemba an jigores jisan dinigi zewa da denbi medo peme kala shap zu shu shu digen ane zewi semje tham jelya zewa dan jamba dan zewi ke rasin jing jisun dramatic dene kelen je shanle phemba din zu bo le sa ji dan ning bo di song da.
To summarize the meaning of the verse then is that Tara, from the visual representation from her seated place on a lotus, motivated by her love and compassion, is fulfilling the promise that she made. And she's fulfilling it in the manner of guiding each and every sentient being, no matter what life form they're in, because we have this great ocean of a variety and number of beings, whatever life form they are in, and in whatever suffering they are experiencing now or in this lifetime, and still yet to potentially suffer. So these two meanings from the great ocean. She's guiding all of them in accordance with their own individual personalities. Depending on what their situation is, she's guiding them to either attain a good rebirth, not to fall into the lower realms, but to attain a good rebirth, or she's guiding them to attain liberation from samsara in its entirety, or she's guiding them to attain full and complete enlightenment.
내상 가르치요래 세도 동아 데데데 다마뇨 데데지 강아지 두수 요데 바래 사지 대송도와 지단디 강아데세라 탑론 수지고 지든 제미기 제기 콘리아 코에 삼노나리아 데니기 켈린 담자 데니시 제기세 켈린 담자 데니 요래 아니 데니기 그런기 두스네 켈린 담자 요바 나신제네 안셰리아 두시에 탑란데 동아라 세와 지고래 지난 콘리아 샘제 담제랴 잠바다 제와 제위 삼노 요래 지상 코론 슈당으로 간에 쉬었으 메도 베메 가라 강보 수시도 쉬어래 세데 지상 상기 지준 죄메기 꾸이 캐셔 슈당다 꾸이 캐셔 연대 꾸이데네 꾸이 캐셔 안에 투기 캐셔 잠바다 제와 니제 요래서 다 꾸이 네 지게 잠나 제와 요래 안샘제도 동안에 자기서 담자다 켈린도 나 요래 켈린디안 tembu다 랍첨보서 랍첨 담자 되는 케일은 tembu요래 사 안되니게 여바나신 다 레갈 마소나 나 제수 안 두신 셈젤레 람전 제제 동화다 디길이야 동화 센디기 주바 지고래 시도 지준 드미가 주기 코와니베 셈쟁기 내상하지 바테시시 잡로와 다디세야리아 안 지준 드미기 세 투구리에 시도 세에게 안 세웨게 간데 세게도 고 캐슈디네 시오래 고 켈린디네 지오래 아니 그런게 안지그 제와다 잠바다 제외 니제디네 요래 지상 코로 두스네 안지 디유주비아 동아세야 되네게 지고래 세데 지 제버틸레가 차례나나 되게 바 지진 재미기 고송 투숨기 연대다 캐슈다 안 뉴버디에 바 제셰갑 개구도와 지네 느심쟁기 당봉아 심쟁기 코베 네다 제셰갑 되네 디마세를 지진 드메게 세투를 가서 지진 드메게 캐주도 뉴버디는 쇼라서 제셰디 개구도 와도 나 뉴버디 개구도 와.
So further, so that the meaning of the verse is clear, we can see that here Lama Tsongkhapa is guiding us as his students to turn towards Tara. And we've been turned towards Tara through him presenting her qualities of body, speech, and mind. So in terms of body, there she is describing the posture with which she is represented in our world. So lotus born, seated on a lotus. Moreover, in terms of her speech, this is how she is guiding beings. She's guiding beings through guiding them in the Dharma, to attain the causes that will lead to a good rebirth, the causes that will lead to liberation, the causes that will lead to enlightenment. And moreover, the qualities of her mind are those of great love and compassion. So this is the further meaning of this verse, and it's presented with traditional imagery that is easy to understand, in that we have this great ocean representing the vastness of suffering beings, as well as the great variety in sufferings that they have, are, and are still to experience. So this then, and so therefore, so in that analogy, we see to whom she directs her promise, and why. So sentient beings, because they are suffering, and she fulfills this promise, motivated by the compassionate and loving mind, and through teaching the Dharma, guiding beings, illuminating the path that they need to cultivate within.
Zadi 대신 야야디 돈나닝보데 가르팅 거라서네 아도래야 대시 강한데래야 잡수 조고레스 대 이치 제고 점도 제고레스 와다 제산 이지어데 제어 이제는 제는 디고 제산 캐슈된데 요레스도 대 이치리기로 와 제산 잡수 조야기 이치 용구로 와 제산 되네 인상 아주 잡수 조야 점도 템부 요야기 돈달라 캐슈된데 시어도 소소리에 세디 다 도스는 송고로 와 제산 되네 인상 당부 되네기 캐슈되게 봐지 캐슈되게 소수가 하고 되네기 세번에 되는 아주 이치때 템부 요하다 잡수 조 점도 빼야고 디고로 와
What's being presented here is a verse on refuge, and it's been presented in this way so that when we go for refuge, it's not just a mere recitation of words, a formula with which we start a practice, but one rather, through having reasons, one can have sincere trust or conviction or belief that for turning for refuge to, in this case, to Tara, the great benefit will come. In particular, the guidance for us to develop our minds and attain protection from suffering, or develop our protection from suffering, freedom from suffering. So this verse is presented in a way to give reasons behind our refuge, so that our refuge isn't limited to a mere expression of words that we just quickly recite, but rather is done with heartfelt sincerity.
그냥 저기 내가지 소속이 직 내가지 된다 죽고야지 다 소속이 맞은 바지 미신다 질이야 야와자고나 아니 직 나된 직 된다된 내가지 땅아 술기 시티원은 술이야 로버제고 제고나 삼백에 이게 미신다 지게 지도 미신다 지게 어디 본부 딜이야 저와치는 고배하고 아래 연된 체보래 아니 레공다 냠용 요래 아니 미 본부 상당히 저와야고 요래 아니 고장 직 선바 상부 요래 밀이야 로버실에 배야고 요래 세지 파티시 모제 제외나 아니 안주기 델이야 어때 미 소수기다 뢰기 미디기 되는 모제 체도 소수기 심도 어다고 제기리 선배에 소수 뢰 딩케제 아니 콜이야 로버 제외나 로버 교제로 실라면 거기다 두시네 아주 로버 제제 강아세기 개발지어로 와다 다야 지금 아주게 담보네 진디 되네 뭐라 하고 맞 미지기야 그 로버 제로 실사시나 직진안에 야고시도 거를 직진은 오다야 내가요로 와 되네 인자 디 템베시어 딱다 차고 말로 아주게 니수디 하 먹어도 제자미 로버제 투구 예매 누버 예매 하 먹어 아니 그 누버 예나요 그 야고지 그 셈바 상부 예매 하 먹어 미지리야 이게 로버지레시도 야양에 저와서는 직진에 야고지기리 직진에 고가 당시게 니니스리와 다 미지 직전달은 아주 당번에 직 제대로 직전이야 기시들 죄들이 소속이 넘기 이치에서 미디게 어디 디디하고다 디포모디 야고 코셈바 상부에 밀로 야고 지고래 고양 저 나요래 연된 요래 안직 잔다임의 저와된 요래선 고의 계획다 연된다 안직 셈바 상부 요래서 제여도 소속이 되니 이치 타지도 콜이야 뢰기 것이도 능아주도 나 주야기 당아주 지소 나래 되는 예대로 받아 연구로 받아 디나신 직발로 받아
Another way we can understand the reasoning behind the need for a verse such as this to be presented is to look at it from the perspective of everyday society. So if we find ourselves in a position where we need to achieve something but we cannot do it on our own, we need the help of someone, we may turn to a friend and say, do you know who can help me? This is my problem and I need help overcoming this problem. They will then say, oh, I recommend this person because of this reason and that reason and that reason. Then we will request that person to help us, and we will do so with confidence that this person is skilled and talented, and not only do they have the skill and the talent, but they have the personality that they will actually help us. They'll turn up for us. Whereas if we if we don't have that confidence in the person we're asking, and we just try our luck, ask someone randomly, we won't know if they are reliable, if they are trustworthy. Perhaps they have a certificate saying they have skills, but we don't know if they really do. We don't know also if they will actually be there for us, help us out, or if they'll just take advantage. Whereas if we've had a recommendation, and that recommendation comes about with many reasons rather than just saying that person, then we'll have confidence, and we will turn to this person with confidence that together we'll be able to achieve what we've set out to achieve, overcome our problems and difficulties and so forth. So this is how we would ideally deal with issues in society. So similarly here in our spiritual developments.
저게 파서 저도 mejor ti pas nyogorwa tiget nyogorwa tenje masha de ane oda kyonzo de nyen che wong ro che wa sa se ne ya sen je de ngui de che jin de gu de yong a kyun ngui che do sa de ne yong gu wa anya ja la de kyo ngi ja ro che ngi che ro che sa che jin ne ya jo jo zhuo ji je ma sim je ja la che zhuo de ne yong gu wa 야 가시네 양은이랑 지게 지게 로봇 체제 마 아주 유명한 데네 제거해서 하다 지게 데네 제가 지게 야부지게 연구를 왔다 가서 미나야 데네게 나서 연구를 왔다 데네게 다디서 오늘 세부로 와 안디나 신당한 지게 제가 다 접수 줘야 될 아주 중앙세에 되게 주의하게 접수 줘야 될 아주 마신 바지 어디를 아직 최시슈네 디기 지 야고 남된 지기를 삼삼 되자 아무거나 아직 되네기 남된 로고체자 야고를 제마도 와디 강한테 강한테 용시 버와 되네 저 지상 저기 최시 접수 줘야 유 최시 되네 요래 대수 되네 요래 데라 접수잖아 추워요 말 넣어요 말 소설이야 미유대 따다 죽투구리 송거도 나님보데 당한테 잘라이나 다가르와 못해야 돼 디야고 하래 디부이다고 요래서다 되네게 안디 잘라디 미gle 닝지고다 디 템부요 마다 차고요 마다서 제시게 요로바다 제가 되네지 야가리뇨야 삼다 요로바디 담가래 마선네
So for example, sometimes one may be in places where people offer you help, but you don't know them, you don't know their motivation, you don't know if they are genuine or not. So for example, if one is at a train station and one is really confused, perhaps doesn't know the language very well or can't read the writing at all, then one really needs some help, and someone comes up to you and says, I'll help you buy a ticket, this way you're going, this is the one you need, give me the money and I'll buy it for you. And maybe that doesn't work out so well. Or you're at the end of your journey, you're getting off your train, and you've got heavy bags, and someone says, I'm here to help you carry. No problem, let me help you with this heavy burden. And off they run. So this can happen. And we are quite vulnerable when we turn to rely on someone and we don't know if they are genuine or not. Because many people are decent, but some are happy to take any opportunity to take advantage of others. So here in terms of our spiritual development, where we're looking to achieve a state that never, across our lifetimes, have we yet achieved, a state of lasting happiness. This is where we turn to someone reliable is indispensable. Otherwise, we can easily be deceived, taken advantage of, led in a direction that is not leading towards the goal we want to achieve. Being led in the accumulation of causes that will not lead to lasting happiness. So therefore, one needs to turn to someone for refuge, someone for guidance, who is reliable, who is honest, someone who is talking both from knowledge and experience.
Gangi Guibi, Jiwe Rapchepa, Dewi Tiansanyibi, Shinsankyu, Koyu Pemba Mewi, and Jedana, Dozam Shiki, Samba Tabe News.
We continue. You, my friend, who has attained an excellent human rebirth, listen and reflect sincerely and intently to this brief presentation of a greatly beneficial teaching that I'm about to give.
Da Gangi Guibi, Jiwe Rapchepa said the Hik, Ya, Jason Tremiki, Kechu, and then Gudan, Songdan, Tuki, and Dengi, Kechu, and Denigi, Kechu, Jason Dramatella, and no Gosum Guyu, Jiwi, and Chevopugins, and Cheva Pune, and the Karchorasene, David Densan, Nibi, Shinsan, Kyo, Sidida, the Dambo Cheva Pui in Satis, near the Lashantic.
But first, the link between these second and third verse is where one prostrates to, or literally places the crown of one's head at the feet of the loving, compassionate mother. And one does so with an attitude of veneration and immense respect.
And the Nigi, Chegopine Karchigin Lamna, that Ni Currently Pembig, Cheshi in Sigurvada, David Densan, Nibi, Shinsan Kyo, Sidida, David Gedamachu, Sungsagi, and that Currently, and that Densan, what they Densan big, and the Gasore. Dawakedan Jo Chusai Ludin Kavachin top the Yores, she's on top the Yores, Niebas, top Yores, Shinsan Kus and the Mu Shinzalana, Don Ninjivola Gurwa, Don Ninjivola, Jidan Kiradi, Ludin Yawato, the Bell Kura, Don Ninjivo, this one go, Mane, Jidan Kiradin Kavachin, Sedelia, Jikisha, and this to be no troop to Din Kavachin, David Dance on the current top to Yores, and Shinsan said to the Sembala Sigur, that in Don Majawache, Shinsan said, Kurang, Chu, Daniel, you Dumbo Yoba, and Yamlanji, Daniel, you Dumbo, you Church, Deba Yoba, Daniel, Dumbo Yobaji, Beya, Semba, Denisi Yakushi, the was or that.
Here, we who have turned to Tada for refuge, we are now being directly addressed. You, my friend, who has attained an excellent human rebirth. An excellent human rebirth is a rebirth that is marked by the 8 freedoms and the 10 opportunities. All of these have been achieved. Therefore, we have a remarkable potential and opportunity to lead a meaningful life. And what we have translated as my friend, it's literally a term that refers to someone's attractiveness, the attractiveness of their face in particular. But it's translated here as my friend, and it refers to someone who has an interest in virtue. So you, my friend, you have an interest in virtue, and interest in other words, in cultivating minds of virtue, and has attained this excellent human rebirth.
That it is Denigi Kuran and David Densan. And Tawaji George Lude Sambo and the Navy gets set in Delia, Chile, Deba Yoba, Donu Dumbo Yoba, then you Tunye Chasan, Sandevaji, Yoba says, then Zangi Kanola, Koi, said that Kosana, because of Jeremy me, Koi, Pemba, Mavi, Jedana, Korolia, Setegi, Tuyegi, Pembajik. Pen to Yobachi Sungis, Dine, Kurangi Sheba de la Jesu Ranch and Yamlin Jeva in Jeva in Dotsam Shebe, Shigi, Sambatavenu, said me, Tik Dorduch, Nunje, and Donadi, Dada Sanduachi, me Kuran Shigis, Kurangi Bed, Sambatava Lamsa, Pan Nienje and Niembe, Dine soon the Sambatava said, the ring Nienje, Sambatava. Nyembe dine pa dusin mutuche nyamlen jeage dusin je tole nyengogore dagas jike sosugi nyamlen jeage donal samta nyengogore ese dozam sheke sambata pe nyese disungore.
You, my friend, you have attained this excellent human rebirth. Then Lama Tsongkhapa now making clear he's addressing us. He now goes on to talk about what he's about to do and then make a request of us. So that he is about to give a teaching that is of great benefit. So this is the promise that he's making, that he is going to give us advice that will be of great benefit to us. To the extent that we apply this advice, it will be of great benefit. So therefore, in order to encourage us to apply what he is about to give us, listen and reflect sincerely and intently to this brief presentation. Here we are then being encouraged not just to merely hear the words, but to engage with them, to take them as personal advice. Because we see how this verse starts. It starts with an address to us ourselves, a direct address, that this is advice for you in particular. It's not a discussion about the situation in general, but this is personal advice for you. So please do listen well.
Rowa samje tamje an che digi digi dan gyawa chime digi dan an tardu ge dingi dewa tarba tamje ge ko ma ding an zule ko wo res ndi rowa ku ni digi se ndi digi yo di an yu phun sun so ba ji jum de yong ma do yu phun sun so ma du ba de digi yong ba yu phun sun so ba zhu go go res ji de shi ne ga ne zhu go res de ji zun zhe ma le ya jiao su song jie jiam zhe jie jie jiam zhe qie go res ka se ne jie bai ne an zhu tu go res ji zun zhe ma se de sim ji ge dung ke le be dung se le ko rong ku du ke gen ke je an sim ji ge dung cha sa nge se gi nge tar ba da di gi zhu gi se be ge ke len jia che mo zhu de nang go res je na de ni ge sim ji ya zai wa da de ni ge ni din na je an di yi tuan ne an ji je sim ji ya che de nyam len je du xin 두시네 코비드 디기 주고래 주바 지고래 제 디네 자다나 루타디 지는 메스네 루타디 결혼데 니 결혼래 시기스 니 시기스 결혼하는데 지게 다디 루에게 된 캬바지는 루비오 요레스 결혼서 당한줄 시고래 결혼서 요 루비 요레스 아니 안지기 데니기 냠렌지게 상기게 철에 대바다 되니 듬보 여바 네 신상보내네 결혼도 되네 두스 제가 딩이 셰바들 결혼도 제소 자제 냠렌제 제쇼스 대장이 직용 안데 돌두셰 donda 보데 창되어바디 시기인스 결혼도 야보신 예쇼아스 냥제는 직냠는 제고래서 다 냠보고 와서야지 다 donda 보데 되지 맞아 치셨으면 donda 보디래다
The summary then of what we've looked at this morning is the very first point is the recognition that we all want happiness. None of us wants to have any problems or difficulties of any shape or size. We just want to abide in lasting happiness. Whilst we enjoy temporary happiness, what we really yearn for is happiness that is lasting, that never ceases, that is never punctuated by even a moment of pain or misery. But to attain such a state, a mere aspiration is insufficient. One has to cultivate the appropriate causes. This is essential. In order to accumulate the essential causes, one first turns for guidance, goes for refuge, goes to refuge in the case here, to Tara, because of her incredible qualities such as love and compassion, and her promise, which she is already fulfilling, to help each and every suffering sentient being, no matter who they are, in what circumstance they're in, no matter what they are experiencing. Tara has promised to help and guide us in our process of mental transformation. And to bring about this process of mental transformation, Lama Tsongkhapa here has promised to give us direct personal advice, which is for us to apply to our minds. And to the extent that we receive his advice as directly for us to cultivate, to that extent we will take the very essence of this human life.
상계 탐지에 지진 조명 뭐 상계 탐지다 지진 조명이 남아셔야 되지 삼바다 랑기 자외 라마다 상계다 이담 답변의 상황도 봐도 제바제 대셔스나 차상 지진 조명이 꿀려나 뭐지바 차상다 지진 조마래서 지진 조명이 남아셔야 되지 베다 상계다 이담다 저게 지진 조마치 뭐 예매기 돈에 삼다지 지진 조마 야소가 되야다 니고거마다 제고거래 아니 디네 제베나 아니 상계 탐지리아 최고 부여다 상계 탐지리아 접수주거디 다다차디요 진짜 거래 아니 디네 자다 딩하는 주기 디커런저 곰 잡다디 데데디 디숭구도와 데비 텐산이비 신상회 세디 다 나하서 차상을 송고래 제상 결혼 나서 디린 데 결혼저 곰 잡디 대상보 대주기 밀리 톱되어래 안데 상기 철에 대바당 안더니 듬바제 디리지 곰 잡데네게 죄년 디지도 개와디 다 사고라 제자디 당아지 디기 주베게 디기 내가 데네게 다디 그러면서 대곰 잡대 제베링을 그러면서 디기 요래 대화 요래 셈나 대화 용고래 류래 대화 용고를 봐안 디기 제보디에 마음바나야 아니 디기 요하게 규디 사이고를 받아 디네 인자다 디네 사이고를 비 소속이 디네기 가호금이야다 제수 이랑 약보 중소 선배게 되는 무디에 되는 냠내 제도가 지긴 세비 전주기야다 루시네 나야데 예심벌다 디네 장아 주기 아티르쇼가 대샤샤데 영어 열라디 몸무디 쉬야샤.
And whilst the homage is directed towards Tara, and it's to her that one venerates and prostrates, one should be very clear that Tara is an emanation of a particular aspect, the aspect of enlightened activities of all the Buddhas. All the Buddhas are the same in terms of their qualities. So their quality of enlightened activities appears to us in the form of Tara. Moreover, we will see her, just like all the Buddhas, as being indivisible in nature from our Lama and Yidam. So therefore, when one prostrates to, or makes offerings to, or goes for refuge to Tara, also know that one is doing so towards all the Buddhas, as well as one's Lama, as well as one's Yidam, because they are all indivisible in nature. So therefore one isn't solely going for refuge to Tara, but to all the Buddhas and one's Lama and Yidam. And then moreover, as it says in the first line of the third verse, you, my friend, who has attained an excellent human rebirth. This applies to all of us here, myself and yourselves, all of us here. We all have attained, through accumulating the appropriate causes in previous lives, this remarkable rebirth. So this is something that applies to all of us. We now, having accumulated further causes to come together again today, we have an opportunity to use this life really well. And as Lama Tsongkhapa encourages us here, use these few days with commitment, taking the advice as personal instruction to yourself, and strive to cultivate it within your own mind. Because this is a remarkable opportunity that we each have achieved to accumulate extensive virtue, to transform our minds through this accumulation of virtue, transforming our minds towards the eventual attainment of a state of lasting happiness. And this is something that each and every one of us has the capacity to achieve. It is not beyond any of us. No matter what your current situation is, you possess this capacity within you. So here I encourage you to recognize this, to generate great joy at this rebirth that you yourself have achieved, and this opportunity here this weekend that you yourself have achieved, and rejoice in that, and rejoice that each and every person around you has achieved that too. And with this mind of joy arising, use that to commit to striving, to using this time together well. Thank you. Thank you very much. We'll continue then this afternoon.